In this video note, we're going to explore the auction project. In particular, we shall look at how to write a getUnsold method for the auction class. This method finds all the lots in the auction that have no bidder. It returns a list of those lots. First, we shall look at the mechanics of using the auction project. This project is probably the most complex we've seen so far, certainly in terms of object interactions. The auction class looks after a list of lots. Lots are items entered into the auction to be sold. The lot class represents each lot entered into the auction, and a bid object for each lot represents the current highest bid for that item. People who want to bid on lots have to register, and they're represented as person objects. Let's start by creating an auction object and entering a lot in just to see how that works. We select the enter lot method. Notice that it doesn't take a lot object as parameter, but simply a string description of the item to be entered. Let's enter a red mountain bike. Now, if we ask the auction object to show the lots, we get a listing, a red mountain bike. It also records that there's currently no bid on this item. If we take a look inside the auction class, we can see that it uses an array list to store the lots, array list of lot. We also notice that it keeps track of the next lot number. Here's the method for entering a lot and the method for showing lots. There's also a method that allows a bid to be made on a lot, which takes a lot number, a person object and an amount to be bid. The getLot method takes a lot number when we want to get a lot, and that's the end. If we take a look at the lot class, we can see that it stores its number, the description, and it also records the highest bid. So a lot object stores a bid object. The bid object records who made the bid and the amount they bid. So let's look at the process of making a bid on an item in the auction. Firstly, we have to create a person object and give them a name. Now we can call the makeABid method, passing in the lot number, the person bidding and the amount they wish to bid. The lot number is 1. Select the person from the object bench and let's bid an amount of 50. Notice in the terminal window that we get a message to say that the bid for lot 1 was successful. If we show the lots, now we can see that the bid value is recorded here. So our task is to add a method into the auction class that iterates over the collection of lots and finds all those lots that don't currently have a bidder. We'll add the method here. The method comment tells us that we want to return a list of the unsold lots. If we're going to be returning a list, then the return type for this method will be ArrayList, and the items stored within it will be lot objects. We won't take any parameters. Even at this stage, we want to compile it just to make sure that everything's okay. And we get an error message to show us there's a missing return statement. That's to be expected because the method says it's going to return an array list of lot. We won't worry about that because that will be fixed at the next stage. Let's now add a local variable that will store the items that are unsold. That's going to be an array list of lot, of course. And we'll call that unsold. Let's add the return statement now so that it's not forgotten. Now when we compile, everything's fine. The showLots method gives us a pattern for how to iterate over the array list of lots. So we'll use something similar in the getUnsold method. Once again, we'll compile just to make sure we haven't made any little errors. Now inside the loop, we want to ask each lot object to tell us what the current highest bid is. We'll need a local variable to store the result of this. Once again, we'll compile to make sure everything's okay, and it is. The test for whether a lot's been sold or not is whether it actually has a bid. So it's possible that the bid object returned from getHighestBid is actually null, in other words, not an object. So let's test. If bid is null, then we know that the lot doesn't have a current bid. So we add it to the unsold list. Once again we compile, and we find there's an error. Notice that we've made the mistake of adding the bid to the list rather than the lot. Let's change bid to lot, select compile, class compiled, no syntax errors. One final review just to check that everything looks okay before we test. We create an array list to store the unsold lots. We iterate over the collection of lots. We ask each lot to give us its current highest bid. We test to make sure that there is in fact a bid, and if there's not, that indicates the lot is unsold, so we add it to the list. Notice this if statement doesn't require an else part, because if there is a bid, we don't want to do anything with that lot, it's not of interest to us. Finally, at the end of the method, we can return the list of unsold lots. Now it's time to test. Firstly, let's actually call the method without having any lots. That's actually a worthwhile thing to do. And of course we get an array list back as a result. We can use the inspect button to actually have a look at that. And what this tells us usefully is that the list is empty, its size is 0. That's what we would expect. If there are no items in the auction, then there shouldn't be any that are currently unsold. Now let's enter the red bicycle again. We'll call enter lot. It's a red mountain bike. And once again, we'll call get unsold. Now we call the inspector. This time the size is 1, which we would have expected. We haven't sold the red mountain bike. Let's inspect the data and see what's in there. There's the item, which again we can inspect. The item is a lot, its lot number is 1, it's a red mountain bike, and as anticipated, the highest bid is null. Everything seems to be working fine so far. So let's now create a person again to make a bid on that item. Once again we see from the terminal window the bid was successful. So now when we call get unsold, we expect there to be no items unsold. And again that's fine, the size is 0. We'll stop there, but a little care is needed here. Don't be fooled into thinking that we've thoroughly tested the code. We really should test with more items in the auction. We should test with a mixture of both sold and unsold items together, and the unsold items should be positioned at the beginning of the list, the end of the list, as well as in the middle of the list.